What's up, Sooner Nation? Happy Friday. Welcome to the Sooner Surge Double Trouble. Yes, I see people in the comments already talking about softball. That game was rescheduled yesterday for the doubleheader tomorrow against the Cyclones. Be a little chilly tomorrow, but rain will be out of the picture, and they'll have a doubleheader, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I believe.
Correct.
Against the Iowa State Cyclones. But happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend. Big things in store as everything is progressing, moving towards spring practices starting on Monday. But first, big shout out to everyone on here for being so faithful each and every night as Sooner Surge followers and those who like to come on and talk. Hunter's add a little agenda up on our screen. You guys can see it. What we always strive to do here at the Sooner Surge is try to make things better each and every day, each and every week, an episode. And Hunter's put a little agenda on there. We'd like to talk about the wide receiver room tonight, specifically slot versus outside. We've been going very heavy with it in the Discord today, so we figured that's a good thing to talk about tonight. And then also, as always, we're here to talk viewers' comments. And Poncho Jack has one. Poncho Jack has a viewer comment that I like. Texas couldn't hang on to number one for 7 days. Are you kidding me?
First
Houston lit him up.
First Big 12 game of the season, and Texas takes the L. Texas sitting in last place right now in the Big 12, by the way, 0-1, as Houston put up 12 on them, 12 spot, so 12-10. You know, OU complained about their pitching. OU fans complained about their pitching. Well, Texas struggled tonight, big time. So, who knows? Maybe Houston win that whole series. Who knows?
Yeah, and hey, with all the wide receiver talk, I already see viewers, Sooner fan says Anthony Anderson on the outside, Burks in the slot. I think we're probably, I won't say 100%, 99% chance that Burks is the starting slot receiver unless something just major happens. I like Anderson and Anthony on the outside, but I think it's going to be Anderson and Gibson the first game out on the outside.
You think Anthony's health, is that why you say that?
Yeah, he's going to be missing a lot of time, Jay, leading up to the season. I don't think he's going to go straight off the bat. I'm with Colin McPherson. Gibson as a day one starter.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't argue with either one, really. And that's the thing when you talk about the wide receiver room. Guys like Anthony, Anderson, Burks, Gibson, Farouk. I'm going to throw Farouk in there. But I'm not going to – I mean, it's hard to really debate any of those, to be honest with you. I mean, you're going to say Farouk, I get it. But Steven's asking, what about 5 wide and 2 slots? All right.
I mean,
2 slot receivers on a 5 wide, I think is what Steven's saying.
Yeah, you can – they'll go 5 wide occasionally, and once they get there, we'll see who all's in the mix. I do think that Anthony, as Iowa Sooner says, thanks for joining us again, as always, all the ones that are on here. I think Anthony will be worked back in slowly because, guys, you're looking at that injury was October last year.
Hey, but Jeremy, I disagree with that, and I disagree with what you're saying about that. Andrew Anthony was the best receiver in the room last year when he was playing. Was he not?
Who's denying that, Jay?
Well, let me continue with my point. My point being this. He knows that the wide receiver room's deep. He's not going to want to give up any time because he may lose it. Why would he want it? Let's just work him back. If he can go, he's going to go.
I don't mean work it back in that.
You said work it back slowly, work him in. If he
not
can
into
go,
the rotation, I'm talking about workouts in general. Until he's cleared at 100%, they're not playing him.
Brent Venables said the other day he'll be good to go by summer.
Okay.
So that's what I'm basing off of, summer workouts.
Well, right now, so what I'm saying, though, is right now through spring ball, he is not going to be out there.
Correct.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Poncho says, don't forget former Texas number 1 and the last undefeated team in the nation, number 3 LSU, play Tuesday at 11 a.m. Maybe they're looking ahead.
And I understand Iowa Sooner. The coaches won't force it, but if he's ready to go and they say he's cleared, then I'm saying Andrew Anthony himself is going to be wanting to get out there because the wide receiver room's deep, and you're not going to want to give up your spot, man.
The bigger question is, will he be the same after the ACL injury?
That's the bigger question is, will he be the same? And when you talk about his cuts, his speed, all that.
Poncho Jack 19, I got LSU.
LSU wins that game.
Yes.
You also got OU Texas basketball tomorrow, Red River rivalry.
Yeah, and Jay, so just think of the wide receiver room. Maybe Hunter can drop every name in the wide receiver room if he's got time. But there's some guys that are never going to see the field, not even close.
Who would that be?
I don't think there's a shot they see the field. And, I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Who are you talking about?
The other night, I got accused of really
you're
making
asking Hunter to drop the names because you don't know them, I guess. Is that what it is?
Shut up. That's the dumbest thing I heard, Jay. The other night, I got accused of making a comment about playing 7 to 10 receivers, and you about lost your mind. It's happening, bud. It's happening.
Well, I hope they go deep.
Guys like Hester will not see the field.
He hasn't seen the field yet. Why would he?
It's highly doubtful that a Zion Raggins or Kearney will see the field unless it's special teams.
Yeah, Steven thinks Kearney's going to get in, compete for a spot. Poncho says he tore his ACL twice. After the first time, it was better than ever. The second one, after the second start, you lost a step or two. So there you go. Hey, Lori, thanks for sticking up, but no biggie. Appreciate it, but I can take him. No big deal. Not worried about it. Just brotherly love, Lori. Brotherly love.
Yeah, there's no harm in what I said. But honestly, I think 7 to 10 guys will catch balls. And I think out of the receivers, thanks, Hunter, for doing that. Appreciate it. Hunter's the GOAT. Anthony, Anderson, Burks, Gibson, Farouk, Thompson, Pettaway. Let's draw a line after Pettaway. That's Anthony, Anderson, Burks, Gibson, Farouk, Thomas. That's 7 guys right there. That's not counting guys like Freeman, who played some last year. Hester won't see it. Carry-on, I think it's too early to get some time. But those 7 guys, in my opinion, are going to see the field maybe each and every game.
So with those 7 there listed, you got a lot of.
You got 4. Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
A lot of people were saying Anthony, Anderson, and Burks as the top 3. That would put Gibson, Farouk, Thompson probably as the backup if you went that, and then Pettaway as an extra. I mean, I don't know. I could see Farouk as a starter, but
we know you can, Jay. But in my opinion, clear cut, Anthony, Anderson, Burks, Gibson are the top 4 in that room right now. As of now, I would also say I just dropped my top 4, but I would also maybe put Brendan Thompson at 5, Farouk at 6, Pettaway at 7.
You would put Brennan at 5?
Yes.
I don't know if there's a pecking order like that, like 1 through 7.
I don't know if there is either.
I mean, I
don't know if there is either. The decision's got to be made, Jay.
You're pretty clear that you think Burks not. I mean, what percentage-wise do you think he's the slot receiver right now?
Well, I won't say 100. I'll say 99%. But my question is,
okay, yeah.
If Farouk is going to play slot, then he's the clear-cut backup at slot, and Pettaway's the 3 at the slot. I think Brendan Thompson's outside. Anderson and Gibson are outside. Anthony's outside. You got 4 outside guys right there.
What's up, Bond? Been a while, bro. How are you tonight?
What's going on, Bond?
Hey, just in time for the OU Texas game tomorrow. Just perfect timing, Bond. I'm picking Texas in that game, by the way.
I got to go with Thompson. Definitely not better than Farouk. It depends on what you're talking about.
Tyler, I agree with you.
It depends on what you're talking about, Tyler.
I'm talking about all-around receiver. He's not as good as Farouk.
You don't really know that yet.
Yeah, I do, in my opinion.
I mean, the numbers aren't there. I agree with you that for sure. He's
Let
definitely got.
me say
He's
something
got
about.
the most speed in the room. I'll say
Can
that.
I say something about Farouk real quick? And I know this is a touchy subject, but I'm going to say something here about Jalil Farouk. Jalil Farouk, 2 years ago, leading into last year, people were very, very high on Farouk. And actually, I think probably going through the first 4 games of the year last year, people were still very high on Farouk. Now, he had an awful end of the season last year. Second half of the season, not good. But there were some games he still made big-time plays in. I go back to that BYU game next to the last game of the year. He made some massive catches in that game, okay? So, and a lot of people would have said he was our most physical receiver.
I'm not
That's
a lot
why
of
he
people.
was playing running back some, because he's physical and he can break tackles and his yards after catch. So I don't think he rolled over out of bed and somehow lost all that. Now, do I think he didn't play well the second half of the season? Yes. Do I think he's going to have his best year of his career this year? Yes. I've already said that. I do. Now, what position is that going to be? Slot, outside? I don't know. But the one sleeping on Farouk, I think you're in for a rude awakening, personally.
Well, I don't know how it would be a rude awakening. First off, Jay.
Hey, real quick, though. Kyla says, how can you trust him, though? Turnovers. Yeah, I get it. But if that's the case, there's been guys as running backs that have fumbled and then
Got benched.
What?
And got benched, Jay. Hey, if you fumbled with Bob Stoops, your butt got benched.
He didn't get
He
benched
didn't
last
play.
year. We'll see, man. We'll see.
All right. I'm not going to compare, Eric. I'm not going to compare Burke's stats with OU's stats because of just the offensive schemes in those two. It's not even close. I will say, though, Jay, that I'm just going to ask you point blank. In the amount of time that Brennan Thompson played, he was unbelievable.
Jeremy, here's what I'll say, and I've said this before. I mean, we've talked about this before. Brennan Thompson is a great deep ball threat, and so he can do some things. I don't think if you say now, he's better at the deep ball than Farouk, big time. I think Farouk's a little better with contact, even though he fumbled, yes. But I think he's better catching in contact and that sort of thing, making those type of catches. I don't think you've seen enough from Brennan Thompson to really judge that. I really don't. I don't think you've seen enough from him. What have you seen other than a couple of – I mean, he hasn't played enough. I think
here's what I can – I'll tell you what I've seen.
Speed, but I haven't seen enough.
What I've seen with Brennan Thompson is he an elite – he's an elite deep threat that needs to be on the field a lot. He's unguardable, Jay. No one can say with him.
Deep threat.
He's unguardable.
I agree, but
Tyreek Hill's not physical.
No, but Tyreek Hill's got some. He's got some.
I think Deion Burks is similar to that.
Yeah, but he's not as fast as Tyreek.
I've already said this. I'm not going to sit here and rehash it every time. I think Farouk would be a good backup if he wants to stay around to do it. Like Mark says, I think the wide receiver room has passed him by. The wide receiver room 2 years ago, people were begging for Farouk to stay, but now it's different because it's so loaded, Jay.
It is. It's a loaded.
So that's why people are saying, well, Farouk, I think there's other guys, because there are other dudes. There weren't other dudes 2 years ago. That's not wrong.
I do think, and this, to be fair, I think a lot of yours and other people's things about Jalil Farouk have to do with the one game at the end of the year, and that's Arizona. I think a lot of
absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong.
So what game before that was a real bad game?
It started with TU, Jay.
TU had a good game.
He had the kickoff. He had the kickoff return fumble, and since that point, he really wasn't as good except for Texas.
Well, I thought he was pretty good at BYU. I know he fumbled the kickoff, but what I'm saying is, I think the dude can still ball. I really do. I mean, I'm
not saying he can't ball. I'm not saying,
listen, you cannot fumble the ball and play. I agree with that. Now, if he still has that problem, you can't play him. But I feel like he's gonna have a better year this year. That's all.
Jalil Farouk is as loyal as they come, Mars Jam 2. You're absolutely right. He is.
Hey,
And hey, I'll also say that OU has been very loyal to Jalil Farouk.
yeah. Would you agree with Eric? Because I would. I don't think there's just a one guy that's just overly.
I think Nick Anderson is elite.
Is he
And
better than all three or four that you mentioned by leaps and bounds? I don't think so.
he's an elite wide receiver, Jay.
I don't think, though, that you have one that stands out way better than any of the other ones.
Well, I'm going to surprise you a little bit. I'm going to agree, Eric, and say he's not on the level of Lamb and Shepard yet. But I am going to say Nick Anderson's probably as good as Mims right now.
Hey, and Hunter.
Jay, what do you think about that?
You think who's as good as Mims?
I said not yet. Anderson is not as good as Lamb or Shepard yet, but I do think he's as good as Marvin Mims and Dede Westbrook.
Marvin Mims.
I think Brady Thompson can be a Dede Westbrook next year.
Marvin Mims was a lot faster than Anderson. Hey, Hunter.
Then I guess Brennan Thompson's Marvin Mims. I mean,
Hunter, the Burks first round grade. I mean, maybe I could see it with his measurables and stuff as far as his speed and stuff. But I'm gonna have to see it on the field because I didn't watch him at Purdue, so I don't know really what OU's getting. I mean, I think he's going to be really good, but we'll see. Hey, Eric, let me say something real quick.
Mims barely caught any passes.
Jeremy, will you let me talk? Hey, if you're going to say Mims is elite, but what about all the drops? Because that's the same thing as, I don't want to say same thing as a fumble, but it is the same thing as a drop touchdown for a bomb right in your hands. That's pretty much like a turnover.
He dropped several.
No, only his last year.
Go look at his stats, Jay. Go look at his stats. They dropped throughout the year.
Only his last year.
Yeah. His last year. Look, for the same reason we talked about Farouk fumbling, and I'm going to say this, and people aren't going to like this, okay? People aren't going to like it. Have I been over exaggerative, maybe of Farouk and a little hard on him? Absolutely have. I'll admit it. Those things that he does about when he had the fumbles and the ball security issues, they were kind of amplified. But Marvin Mims' Texas game on the sideline, the toe tap, amplified exactly who he was too, okay?
Yeah, he was elite. Mims made the elite catches.
I'm saying that game alone put him on another level when he never went back there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you also
what do you mean Anderson does the same things?
Hey, listen, you also, and guys.
He had one deep ball drop, I believe.
Guys, a lot
of
the plays you saw from Marvin Mims, his best plays, were when Caleb Williams stood up and made him go make a play. I do think Dylan Gabriel, a lot of times, if a guy was covered, he wasn't going to throw it to him to give a chance to make a play. I do think there is that, so you don't see how elite some of the guys could be, really. But
hey,
yeah.
What were you going to say, Jay?
No, you're good.
Mars Jam. No one's denying that Farouk had a good game against Texas. He had a good game. I mean, I can make 20 of 25 3-pointers, and I'm not Steph Curry either.
What were his two worst games last year, Jalil Farouk?
Well, Arizona was by far his worst game.
Okay.
With ball security issues. And then there was a few games late in the year he was a no-show.
No-show because quarterback didn't throw to him?
I don't know what the reason is, Jay. Maybe he doesn't get a lot of separation, I guess.
Hunter,
that's my complaint.
You cannot put KU in here when they threw the ball 9 freaking times. Come on.
Gee. I agree. I'm not saying KU, Jay. Eric wants to keep throwing KU out there about.
Okay, yes, he had the fumble. I agree with the fumble part. But.
Hey, Jay, I'll give you another fact about Farouk. He ran the ball a lot better 2 years ago than this year at running back position.
He's not a running back, Jeremy.
I'm saying he averaged 9 yards a carry 2 years ago, 5 last year.
He's not a running back.
Or jet sweep or whatever. I agree he's not, Jay. He's not.
Jeez. Marvin Mims, 2022.
Eric, who was the quarterback in 2022?
Dylan Gabriel.
Uh-huh. And what other wideouts did they have, Jay? Farouk was like the number 3 or 4 guy on that team.
3.
1,000 yards is a great season, Eric.
It is a good year.
I'm not going to deny that. I mean,
how many will they have 1,000-yard receiver this year?
If Nick Anderson had 54 catches, he would have 1,000 yards. I mean,
Theo Weiss
never got the ball thrown to him, ever. Ever.
Now, this is a great point from Tyler. This is an outstanding point.
Yeah, it's the few years difference. That's the difference.
And all those players had 1 year that really made them great. We have same young guys that have a few years to get a Lamb Mim status. That's it. We got to realize what we're talking about here. Nick Anderson's a freshman. He was a freshman last year. Okay, Petaway hasn't played. Gibson hasn't really played enough to know. He's looked great when he's played. Burks, we have not seen. Really, the only guy in that room that's played a ton at OU would be Farouk.
Hey, I agree, Jay. Hunter, if you have time, you don't have to do this, but I'd be curious to hear Lamb, Mims, D.D. Westbrook. Go look at their redshirt freshman year.
You can't count D.D. He's a junior college.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Or even their sophomore year and tell me if they scored as many tutties as Nick Anderson.
Well, it's not just about tutties. It's about catches, and it's about
oh, my gosh, Eric. I'm not going to do this again, dude.
Jeremy, do you know why do you know why he put that in there? Because you and other people are talking about Farouk have 1 catch. What's the difference?
About 1 catch?
Yeah. I mean, y'all are putting stuff about Farouk having 1 or 2 catches a game. He's non-existent. It's like, well, you could do the same thing about any of these receivers.
Well, no, because Eric always says 1 catch against Texas. He barely played.
Yeah, I think the wide receiver. Listen, I think
BYU, Jay, BYU. He was wide open on deep ball. They overthrew him. He'd have had 80 yards receiving right there on that one.
Okay, but listen to me.
It's how many drops did he have? How many targets did he have? Okay, then let's talk.
What are you even talking about? Yes, Anderson was a freshman All-American, and I think right now, if you ask most people, I think probably if we did a poll, 70-80% of y'all would think Anderson's the best receiver on the team.
Yes.
So, Hunter, I think Jeremy's wanting to know CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Mims, and
it was Mark and D.D. Westbrook, but Westbrook you can't do. Maybe Sterling Shepard. Maybe Sterling Shepard. Hey, Eric. And I'll just say this. Some facts, and by the way, Petaway's not transferring unless he doesn't see the field this year. What makes facts ridiculous, Tyler? Facts, while yes, you are absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Eric. I can't argue that Nick Anderson had 3 catches, 12 yards. What went into the 3 catches, Eric? Was he targeted 7 times and didn't catch 4 of them? Did he have 3 drops? There's different things that play into it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right about that because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. There would be games where Dak Prescott wouldn't even look at the CeeDee Lamb. That doesn't mean CeeDee Lamb's not any good.
Hunter used to text me all the time and say they never throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb at Dallas. And they didn't.
And that's not CeeDee Lamb's fault some of those times. I think that's what you're trying.
They were working with a true freshman quarterback who Jackson Arnold didn't come out slinging the ball that game. If you remember, they were trying to win with the running game.
Guys, keep the comments clean. We're just.
Yeah, hey, we don't need to attack a person. We can attack opinions. That's what we look. I attack a lot of opinions, but I'm not going to attack a person.
There is the stats right there. Lamb year 2, 65. Wow, that's a great year. Now Shepard.
Lamb's second year.
So really, it was Lamb. Lamb was a standout there. The other 2 were 603 and 705 on yards. So,
Eric, a good game would be, I think he had a really good game against UCF and OSU, correct?
Anderson, you talking about?
Nick Anderson was elite against both of those teams. UCF, OSU, I don't remember what he was against TCU. We scored a lot of points. 8 TDs won it that game.
I mean, we're getting a little off topic because I don't think sometimes the number of catches really affects how good the receiver he is. But in the same thing, you can't say the same thing about Farouk though. Is what we're saying is like you can't say Farouk disappeared when if
Jay, the only issue anyone has, I think, on here about Farouk is the ball security. Like what the heck? I'm not ever saying, well, Farouk just doesn't catch many balls. Farouk's got 55
Jeremy,
drops. I have two complaints.
You don't think you have, yes, the fumbles are a big deal, but you've also said you think all around.
Eric, you do the same thing with Farouk. You mentioned Texas, his best game, Eric.
Yeah. So you're both doing
you
the
don't
same
want
thing.
to,
I don't know
Eric
why
doesn't want to talk about Farouk's bad games. Eric brings up Nick Anderson's game against Kansas, but not Farouk's game against Kansas. Eric brings up Farouk's game against Texas and Nick Anderson's game against Texas. Like, come on. You're doing the same thing, Eric. That's my problem.
Mark says,
look, I'm going to just say it. The three problems I have with Jalil Farouk. One, I don't see that he gets that much separation. That's one of my issues.
Jeremy?
I do think he would be better at slot. My second problem, lack of ball security. And my third issue with Jalil Farouk is he's been here 3 years and, in my opinion, has not become the guy I thought he would be. Okay? That's the three problems.
I mean, well, it sounds like you don't think he should get the chance this year, which is fine. That's your opinion.
Other guys have passed him up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. And who's passed him up?
Jaden Gibson needs to be playing over him.
Okay, but you say he's passed him up, but he hadn't even played. I mean, what are you basing?
Who hasn't played?
Jaden Gibson didn't get enough playing time last year.
I'm basing it on what I saw last year. Jaden Gibson got way more separate. When Jaden Gibson was in, he was open all the time.
Then you tell me why he wasn't playing.
That's a problem, Jay.
I agree. I think Jaden Gibson's a good receiver.
Brennan Thompson, if you want to look at average yards per catch and everything, he did it.
The Brennan Thompson hype, I love for a down the field. I do not think an every down receiver, Brennan Thompson. That's just me. Now, I may be totally wrong. I can admit
I didn't say every down. I don't want Farouk out there. I don't want these guys out there every down, Jay. I've said I want 7 to 10 guys, and you just blatantly laughed at me the other night.
When did I laugh at you?
If this team is the 7 that Hunter dropped in here earlier, if this team's not playing those 7 every night, I have issues with Emmett Jones and the entire staff.
I agree. You got to play 6 or 7 guys. You have to.
Have to.
I think the whole thing on me and I'm different than a lot of people. A lot of people don't agree with me on this. I get it. But I'm just not ready just to say Farouk's not a good receiver and that he shouldn't play. That's just me. I think he's the guy that could have a great year. I do.
What were Farouk's stats last year, Jay?
Huh?
Farouk's stats. Eric sent them to me in the Discord earlier, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. But if you just get Gibson to the number of catches Farouk had, it's not even close how many yards Gibson would have and touchdowns. Farouk only had 2 touchdowns the entire year, guys. Gibson had 5. Anderson had more than that. Okay? If you're supposedly wide, and Stoops had more than that, why is it Farouk catching tutties?
Well, I think a lot of it was also
not very open, Jay.
I meant to say this earlier, but the offense OU is running with Jeff Lebby. I don't know. I didn't really like the way the wide receivers were used personally, but I mean that's just
Jay. If you just double Gibson's catches last year, double him, he's at 28. That's still not even near the number of Farouk. He's already got more yards.
Okay, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and argue about yardage and how many catches.
I agree with Copenhagen. I think what everyone on here can agree on is the offensive personnel was bad, the decision-making. I don't know if that's DeMarco Murray, Emmett Jones, Joe John Finley, Jeff Lebby, Brent Venables. I don't know who it is, but it was bad.
Well, and I do think the Stoops why he had such a great year, we've talked about it before, is because DG looked to him a lot. And that's not fair to the other guys, but he did. I mean, that is what happened. That's a fact.
Hey, here's what I'm going to say about all this that's going on in the comments. First off, I have a differing opinion with a whole lot of people on here, but it doesn't bother me. Now I'll get angry and upset and all that stuff, and I'll start saying things. But I don't think bashing maybe people or other things is even close to being the right thing. Now you may say someone's take is bad, but let's get some support and some evidence. That's what I always try to do.
Hey, let's pause here for some trivia. All right.
I will also
trivia here. Check out thefanstop.com. Go there, use code SURGE. You'll get 10% off your first 3 months on shirts. They're great shirts, OU shirts. If you're not an OU fan, maybe you're a fan of another school, they have a ton of schools that they're officially licensed for. Please go check it out. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. Fanstop.com. Use code SURGE. All right, here we go. Tomorrow, OU versus Texas basketball. Porter Moser struggled against Texas. He has, right? And this question is probably going to be pretty easy, so you're going to have to be quick. And if you're Googling it up, you're going to be really quick. But tomorrow, the game's in Texas. What is the name of Texas basketball arena?
I know that. Unless they changed it. Have they changed it recently?
I hope not, because I'm going with what I think it is.
I don't know if McCollum's playing tomorrow. I would expect him to play.
Game time decision. What I heard. Correct. Game time decision. I've been working on the Railroad basketball arena. I like that answer, Sooner fan.
Do you know why he said that?
Yeah, because the song sounds just like I've been working on the railroad.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah, Irwin Center, Frank Irwin Center. Boom, Gary Wolford. Good job, Gary.
I will say one thing. They did change it then, Jay.
They changed the name of it. Never mind, I'm wrong. We're going to give Gary a point. We're going to give Gary a point. Somebody else gets
it was the Frank Irwin Center. It used to be. They did get a new one then, Jay. They changed the name of it. They actually may have got a new one.
Correct. I remember now. That's correct.
It is a new arena.
Yeah. But we don't even, I mean,
hey,
it's a super nice arena.
No, what I would say is, Eric.
I think COVID was the last year of the Frank Irwin Center.
Eric, I disagree with a lot of your takes. We talk on the Discord often.
Blake.
We can respectfully disagree, and I think we do a good job doing that. However, I will say that, as someone pointed out earlier, I think it was Mark, not all games and stats always tell the big picture. Games have different contexts, different circumstances, different situations. To just throw up a stat and say it supports it is not always accurate, because if that's the case, the stat that Hunter just threw up, Eric, of 14 catches, 375 yards, and 5 TDs, says Jalil Farouk should not be a starter. Plain and simple, Eric. Plain and simple. That's what I would say.
Hey, looks like Kenneth got it.
I agree. It goes both ways. It depends on the context of the situation. Context is everything. I think context is everything and everything. I don't think it was Levy that went away from Anderson, Ricky. I think it was Dylan Gabriel. I've said this before. Moody Center.
Yeah, Kenneth got it.
Oh, okay.
Kenneth got it.
How many targets did he have? He had 45 catches. My guess is he probably had around 65 targets. What do you think, Jay?
I think that's a little high.
I think he probably had 19 that he didn't catch because of closely guarded, couldn't get his hands on it, bad throw, drop, 19. I would say he had 64 to 65 targets. Copenhagen, you're right. That would be good context. It'd be great context.
405.
Listen. And look at look at Nick Anderson. He's got more yards than Farouk, less catches, and 8 more touchdowns. Let's not say Nick Anderson's not as good as Farouk.
I don't think anybody's questioning if Anderson
didn't even start till game 7, guys.
Who's questioning Nick Anderson being good?
Eric. Eric's questioning Nick Anderson because of BYU and Texas.
Eric, I think Nick Anderson's really good, but I also think Farouk's pretty good. I just think Farouk kind of got a bad rap last year, and he brought it on himself. You fumble the ball, that's what happens. But I'm not.
Eric, was OSU meaningful competition? I'm curious. Was Kansas meaningful competition? Was UCF meaningful? Was UCF meaningful? Because all those games were 1-possession games. Am I wrong or am I wrong?
I think Eric, you can say that some games, but you can't say like the Arizona game he did not.
When we were losing or tied, he stepped up. Did he against Arizona? I guess we were winning that game. So that's a bad context, Eric.
Blake says Farouk and the SMU. I mean, I think of games off the top of my head that Farouk had a big impact on her. Texas, SMU, and BYU. Those were 3 pretty good games from Jalil Farouk.
What were his stats in the BYU game?
I don't care about, Jeremy. I'm not a stat guy. I care about when you make plays when it counts the most. That's what I care about. And I
agree with Mark in this also.
Farouk had BYU game. What?
I agree with Mark that a lot of the guys never got shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's partly true too. Yeah, hey, Kenneth, this is an outstanding point, and I would agree with this. Farouk is a better route runner. Thompson's a speed guy. Anderson guy to go over the middle. I kind of agree with all that.
I guess build your wide receiver, your clone right there.
I think Anderson's the best all-around receiver they have.
Well, Nick Anderson caught the ball that mattered most of anyone. It was the Texas touchdown. So I guess he's the biggest one.
Yeah.
Game-winning catch.
Yeah, it's hard to not. Yeah, that BYU game was brutal. That BYU football game was about as bad as the OU Cincinnati basketball game, but OU won, and OU won against BYU too. So,
and arguably Stoops made as critical of catches as anyone and plays.
Hey, listen, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen next year. I really think the good thing about the wide receiver room, and it's not just the wide, it's a lot of wide receivers, a lot of rooms at Oklahoma right now, is there is a lot of competition for the starting roles. So I honestly, you talked about it last year with DG. DG was one of the reasons why DG was better was because of Jackson Arnold, correct?
Yes.
So I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking with Jalil Farouk. He knows, hey, his time is going to be limited if he doesn't step up. And I think he's coming with an attitude of, I'm going to bring it this year. I'm not going to fumble the ball. I'm going to bring it. That's all I'm saying.
And Jay, I would argue that Farouk's best catch was the one against BYU. I think that was the toughest play he made. He went down low to get the ball, but it's also, if we're gonna say that, we got to say that Jackson Arnold made game-winning play. I mean, I think that was the best catch he made all year.
Who said Jackson Arnold didn't make any game?
No, I'm just saying people talk about Jackson Arnold's BYU game.
Who's talking about Jackson Arnold right now? Who's brought up Jackson Arnold at all?
I just did.
Why? We're not talking about Jackson Arnold.
Nick Anderson absolutely dropped a touchdown.
We're not talking about.
And guess what, Kenneth? If Nick Anderson drops 5 or 6 balls and starts fumbling, I want him benched too. If there's guys in waiting who can play. My only problem was, look, this has nothing to do with Farouk. It's more about the coaching staff. Why when Farouk fumbled kickoffs? Why when people want Gavin Freeman benched? Why when Gavin Freeman's dropped punts and Farouk dropped balls, why were they not benched? That's my issue. Has nothing to do with any viewer on here. It has to do with why was there no consequence for players having no ball security? I'm used to Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops said, if you fumble the ball, you're not playing a series or two. Those two, it seems like some guys had the short leash, and some guys it could go on for miles.
Yeah,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Kyla, I'm with you on Brendan Thompson. I want him to get a lot of snaps. I don't think he's a guy that's like every down, but I do think he's got to play quite a bit. And I think that's it. I'll say this. Anderson, Anthony, Farouk, Gibson, Brennan Thompson. Those 6 for sure need to be in the rotation heavily. And then Petaway too, add him in. But you cannot. Last year, and Levy's biggest failures as a coach was his rotation, and it was not good. If he's the one making those calls, because
that's the thing we don't know yet.
We don't know if that was him or.
And
yeah.
And Jay, again, Eric said it about 2 minutes ago, and I'm on board with it right now. You guys know I don't even like talking about the Farouk thing, but it seems like every night that's what we're talking about is Farouk. We'll see how it plays out. I'm probably going to be eating crow or I might not be. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, he's not going to be at OU, is he?
If he wants to be a backup, he'll stay around, Jay.
Yeah, rotation on running backs too, Kyle. I agree. Beginning of the season fumble versus end of the season fumble as well. Yeah, comparing the Tulsa. And listen, the Tulsa one, and here's what you also got to say about Jalil Farouk. I mean, I do think a few of those he got hit pretty dang hard. Not all of them, but there were a few he got pretty drilled. So yeah, Bob Stoops was strict on fumbles, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a bad. Anderson point blank dropped the ball. You can't argue that. I'm just saying I think Anderson is pretty special. I think he's going to be really, really, really special. One, his last name's Anderson, and I think he's got a lot of Rodney in him.
Yeah, I agree. Petaway needs to be back down their return team at some point. I mean, right?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I'm going to say this because BV said it. I thought it was interesting. I went back and listened to it again on the presser because I wanted to make sure I got it right. He mentioned, first guy he mentioned on the O-line was Sexton. Okay? The second name he mentioned was Troy Everett. But then I listened to it again, and he started kind of going about the guys who were there. Then he went to the freshmen. Then he went to the portal. So I don't know, but he did mention Everett a couple times.
Hey, did you hear what Gabe Ike was saying about Logan Howland?
No, I did not.
Basically,
he's Jay.
Pretty high on Logan Howland being a tackle, and he said hearing a lot of buzz, and I think he's up at 310 now. I think is what he said his weight was. So I mean, hey, I'm not sold on Spencer Brown. So I think if they got a guy, and I think Teddy was talking about it too, how there's some guys that redshirt that you kind of forget about. And you're like, oh, yeah, they're still – they could have a good year, right? I mean, you can look on the offensive line. You look at guys like Ozida, Howland, Jake Taylor even. I mean, some of these guys that have been there now a year or two can make it.
I got a trivia question.
Yeah.
I'm adding a trivia question right now.
Yeah.
You know how I love movies. Give me the name of the movie where Jake Taylor played a major role.
Oh, my gosh, Jeremy. Why would you ask such an easy question?
Do you know it, Jay?
I just said, why would you ask an easy question? Does that mean I know it?
Someone's going to get it really quickly here. Get a free point.
Golly.
Free point right now. Come on. Someone get it.
It'll be the first one that comes on there.
Tyler Anderson got it.
Jeez.
You like how I said played a major role? Man, I'm funny, Jay.
Nobody's laughing. Message, Everett needs to learn how to not get tossed around the people. Yeah, guys, the Everett stuff to me, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. We're not going to the Southwest Conference. We're going to Southeast Conference, SEC. I don't buy it.
Jay, if Troy Everett is starting, I've already said it. I think they're having some issues.
Hey, look, all bets are on for the offensive line. Maybe before we close it tonight, Jeremy, your opinion, and viewers, I want you to put this in here. Out of the 5 offensive linemen, how many starting are going to be transfers?
1.
I say 2.
I want to say 3, but I think 2.
I say 2. I say Fabechi and Hatchet.
See, I was going to say Fabechi and Brown with maybe Hatchet as the third.
No, I'm not sold on Brown.
We know this, Jay. I'm not sold on him, but I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, hopefully 2. Kyla says a lot of 2s, so a few 3s. Got a 4 in there for no, not a 4. Yeah, center is his natural position. I understand that, Ricky, but
where's Kendall been, Jay? Calling me out my puka shell necklace.
Not on there tonight.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm agree with you. Jay, you have the corniest movies ever. Just kidding.
Steve Farmer says 3.
Are you talking about me or Jeremy?
Maybe he got us confused.
Hey, first off, before we get off here, list your starters, me.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I would go Fabechi, Hatchet, Sexton, Bates. Gosh, this fifth one's the one I'm struggling with.
It's the other tackle position.
I know, and that's the one I'm struggling with.
It's not going to be Tarquin, I don't think.
I mean, I'm going to throw a surprise out there. I may go with Howland.
May or you will.
I mean, I can't see. I don't know about Jake Taylor, guys. I just don't know, man. Hey, Mess.
Heath Azide is another guy that's not mentioned.
Mess, who would your 5 be? Who would your 5 be, Mess?
I will say this, though. Garen Hatchett was more highly recruited than Heath Azide. That doesn't bode well for Azide.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's for sure.
Tatum, no chance. No chance he's a starting running back. Laurie, no chance.
Yeah, I don't either because Mess, I watched him in high school, and then when they recruited him, I thought he was going to be great. It's hard, Mess, right now to have 5. I think right now you could say you have 2. Well, you might right now could only say you have 1. No, maybe probably 2 starters, Sexton and Fabechi, right? Would that be what you would go with? Those 2 are probably penciled in starters. Other than that, I don't know if you.
Other than that, and maybe we're too high on Fabechi. I don't know.
No, I think Gabe Eichert said they think he could be an early round pick.
I like him a lot
from
too.
what they've seen on Fabechi. So, we'll see in spring ball. That's probably. I mean, there's a lot of things to watch in spring ball, but that's one of the most important things to be watching for sure.
Kyla, I thought Caleb Hicks would get carries last year, and he didn't. That back room is pretty deep this year, so I'm not throwing a red shirt out of the realm of possibility for him.
All right, so Mess. So we're on the exact same page, bro. Sexton, Bates, Fabechi, Hatchet. I think we both think those 4 right now would be the starters. Who would be the 5th? I think we're on the at right tackle. You have options. Is it going to be Howland? It could be Spencer Brown. I mean, there's other guys it could be. So, and listen, we cannot forget about the incoming freshmen. I do think there is a chance that one of the incoming freshmen starts. I do think. If they come in and tear it up, I think some of them are physically gifted already. So I think it'd be a tough chance for him to start, but I do think it's possible because I don't think there's any clear cut. And
there's nothing clear cut.
That's probably your 3 right now, but you never know. An incoming guy could jump in there in the mix.
There's nothing clear cut, Jay. Nothing's clear cut at any position hardly, except for defense, which is pretty solid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, tomorrow's a busy day, Sooner fans.
Busy day, big day.
Doubleheader for softball, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock against Iowa State Cyclones. You got OU Texas, Red River rivalry in basketball at the Moody Center.
1 o'clock.
State championship basketball games going on in the state of Oklahoma. What else, Jay?
I think that's it.
Baseball?
Yeah, baseball, and then hey, Sunday I think OU women's gymnastics traveling to Arkansas. That'd be good.
Big 12 women's basketball.
Correct. Yeah, EPL's a good one to watch for sure.
There's a lot out there.
Pro,
Hey, listen, kudos to everybody. Thanks again. I do want to remind, look, we'll disagree all day long, all night long, always. But we don't need to attack person or characters or things like that on here on the Sooner Surge. That is not what this is about. I love disagreeing, and I almost embrace it.
No kidding.
What, Jay?
No kidding.
Yeah. But attacking people, we don't need to do. Our dad did get moved back to the rehab facility. Thanks for your prayers, Monty. Thanks for always asking. So we're hoping he can start moving, getting some rehab in, and feeling better. So long road ahead still, but appreciate the prayers. Thanks for being on here, guys. Appreciate you all. We'll see you tomorrow night. Busy day. Boomer.
Sooner.